Uncertainty creates fear. People are always looking to you for, how do I solve this problem? I don't have time to do all of this nice to do stuff. You become a people pleaser on steroids. Your future self is not about your what, necessarily. It's more about your who.
Welcome to the Future Walk podcast. I'm Sarah Draper, and I'm so glad you're here. Today, I'm joined by Chris Kolenda. He's a retired U.S. Army colonel, a combat commander, PhD, an award-winning author, and the founder of Chris Kolenda Academy. And I have learned so much from his perspective and his leadership strategy over the past couple of years. I subscribe personally to quite a few different weekly newsletters, and Chris's is one of probably 3, if not 2, that I deliberately, intentionally read every single time it comes out. And I have to resist the urge practically every time I read one of his newsletters to reach out to Chris and say, oh, another great one, thank you. So his work is just deeply impactful for me and very profound. And it's based upon this incredible background and experience he's had. And his background to leadership development is really, really unique. He is the only American to have both fought the Taliban as a combat commander in Afghanistan and been negotiated with them in peace talks. He advised 4-star generals and secretaries of defense on strategy and leadership. And he also, at a very personal human level, he carries the weight of 6 paratroopers from his unit who were killed in action. So today, Chris helps CEOs and senior leaders move from success to significance and break something that he calls the dependency trap, which we're going to get into. This is this #1 productivity killer for leaders. And his position is that strong leaders often unintentionally create dependency because being helpful feels good, feels productive. But that hero mentality is actually a tax on an organizational growth and that leader's well-being. He also describes himself as a recovering servant leader, and something I've realized about myself as well. So we're going to explore what that means and why. I think Chris and I, our backgrounds way back from the beginning are very similar with our upbringing at West Point. So maybe that has something to do with it going on into the Army, or maybe it was something that was in us before we joined. Nonetheless, we're going to dig into that servant leadership, what can sometimes be a trap with that. We'll also talk about how warrior diplomacy translates to the private sector and how he stays aligned with his burning heart while carrying the weight of combat leadership. So, Chris, thank you so much for being here. It's really, really, really good to see you.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Sarah, and thank you for that kind intro. That was really extraordinary.
Well, you have an extraordinary background, which makes you so well suited for what you do now. I would love it if we could start with talking about some of that background, like how, in the intro, we talked about how you're the only American to have both fought the Taliban as a combat commander and then later negotiated with them. How you've brought this warrior diplomat background into what you do now, which is helping CEOs, helping leaders, and beyond, outside the combat arena, helping to scale, helping people grow, but also the individual level, helping individual leaders be their best despite everything that's pulling them in many directions.
Yeah, thank you. I got interested. I've always been interested in leadership, ever since West Point, or even before the academy. And part of my background is I grew up in Omaha, Nebraska, as a very skinny and awkward teenager. So I think I wrestled at the 82-pound weight class
Ooh.
in 8th grade and the 89-pound weight class in 9th grade. And being skinny and being awkward makes you a target for creeps and bullies. And I got both of that. And by the time I got to be a junior in high school, I grew and was no longer the same target. And I made a commitment to myself that, #1, I don't ever want to feel that way again or be in that position ever again. #2, that I want to make sure that the people I'm associated with never feel like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then what really attracts me into the working with leaders now is I get to work with other leaders who want to make sure that nobody ever feels like that.
Yeah.
And instead they feel like they are valued and they are contributing something of value to something important to them. So that's the origin of my passion.
I love that. So you bring up this idea of being valued as a human being, being valued for, I assume, your strengths, your contributions, your gifts. Your three big things are leadership, culture, and strategy. To me, it makes great sense to have those be priorities and focus points in the military or government environment. Do you find that same connection when you are working with private sector companies, or is that a harder thing to help people understand?
The same things are vital, because ultimately what strategy provides is direction.
Mm-hmm.
What culture provides is alignment, and what leadership provides is good judgment and action. And so one of the things I noticed in the military, and it's the same in the private sector today, is there are lots of books that lay out principles that sound great, tell you to do this instead of that, and evolve from here to there, and all of that's good, and all of it's fine and wonderful. The question is, how do you actually get there from here to there safely? So here's one example. If I could draw my little whiteboard.
Okay, so Chris is very good at his visual models, and I love these things. Please draw and
yeah, visual models
very
are
helpful. And on the ground, we're going to get to on the ground work too. How you walk terrain with people. Mm-hmm.
We're in a time of great volatility and uncertainty. You've got AI, you've got social disruption, you've got wars, you've got economic challenges, alliances falling apart, great power rival, all of this stuff that is creating massive amounts of uncertainty. And uncertainty creates fear. And the first thing that we want to do in time of fear is create safety. And we tend to see safety as control.
Yeah.
So the more that we can control it, the safer I'm going to feel, because I'm less vulnerable to other people's bad decisions.
Okay.
So when you look back at the COVID pandemic, for instance, what did businesses do? Hunker down, tighten the reins, tightened information, and became very detailed. So very detailed in their control. And the challenge, of course, with that is the more you detail control of things like decisions and actions, the less autonomy people have, the less people are able to exercise their initiative, the slower you get. You create massive leader dependency because people are always looking to you like birds waiting for their mom to feed them. Right. People are always looking to you for, how do I solve this problem? How do I make this decision? What do I do next, boss? Right. And so over time, you can try all the productivity hacks that you want, but over time, you're going to create slow, cumbersome dependency, and it becomes a huge organizational killer. The opposite of detailed control is what I call directive control. So directive control says that I'm going to be in control of direction. So those are things like priorities and purpose. So P&P, standards, and boundaries. And I'm going to decentralize decision making. I'm going to essentially decentralize the how. So this is directive control is about the what and the why, and you decentralize the how, empower people to make decisions, to solve problems, to innovate, to try new things. You see organizations that do this really well. Netflix is a great example, where they give their employees tremendous latitude to make decisions that over the control of their work. The standards and the purpose and direction of the company are the same. Toyota is another great example. Toyota's got very clear standards when it comes to quality, what happens on the production line, their process. They encourage people to pull the lever if they see something amiss.
Okay.
Toyota is one of the best auto companies, arguably the most successful auto company on the planet. So you've got some great examples of this, and the power of it when you can make it work. The challenge is, well, how do I get? So okay, I understand detailed control has bad consequences. Sears is a great example where they tried to control way too much in the face of threats from Walmart and Amazon, and ultimately they were too slow and unresponsive, and boom, out of business. Blockbuster, out of business. Same kind of problem. So intellectually we get, yes, detailed is better than directive. But how do I get here? How do I make that move without creating chaos?
Right.
Because if I empower people who aren't aligned, who are misdirected, who don't have the capacity, then what I've done is I've just unleashed chaos, and now we're our own worst enemy. So I've developed a system. It's related to leadership, culture, and strategy, called the 3-discipline leadership system. So it's a Venn diagram. It looks like this. The 3-discipline leadership system, which gives you a safe, effective, deliberate way to get from detailed control, or dependency, into a situation where you've got directive control, where now you've got team-powered momentum that enables you to grow and thrive as a business.
What are those 3 disciplines?
Those 3 disciplines, love that question. Those 3 disciplines are strategic foresight. So how do we put people in positions where they always find they're going to be successful? So we're able to recognize patterns. We're able to put together simple strategies that are executable. And we develop the ability among people to think proactively. So you're shaping the future rather than reacting to the past. The next one is called empowering oversight, and its analog is culture. And empowering oversight is all about working with leaders to go from a situation where they feel like they're micromanaging to make sure everything goes perfectly, into they're igniting people's ingenuity and knowing that people's initiative is going to always move in the right direction because of those values and those standards and those boundaries that everybody has understands. And then third is courageous insight, analog to leadership, where it's a combination of where leaders go from cautious hesitation to decisive action. So leaders are voting with their time, talent, and energy in places, times, and in manners which it matters most. They've got the judgment to make sound decisions, and they're able to translate decision into action very quickly. So those are the 3 disciplines, and there are what I call accelerators. So 3 accelerators for each one that give you essentially the step-by-step process using visual models like this. So that you can make all of that happen. The military is great about using visual models. And the beauty of it is that everybody sees the big picture. Everybody knows where they are supposed to be within that picture. They know where they're supposed to be in relation to everybody else.
Yeah.
And so they know how to adjust. It's the same reason why sports teams use visual models, plays, X's and O's. So this is very similar. Essentially, the X's and O's for how you do those so-called soft skills that are really, really hard. Communication, buy-in, accountability, all that stuff.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the beauty of the system.
Thank you. So strategic foresight. So.
Yeah, strategic foresight, empowering oversight, and courageous insight.
So thank you. So what if you're a leader who's like, I mean, I'm all in, right? I'm totally, yes, that's where I want to be. You're a leader who's in an organization or in a subculture within an organization that is not there, right? What can a leader do in there, or what can they do to start to empower others? Because I imagine some people's resistance could be, gosh, that sounds like it's going to take a lot more time. Gosh, my boss measures me only on my output versus like my development of people. So there might be some internal barriers to being able to really fully get into empowering others and courageous insights. What can they do?
I would invite them to consider it's not an either or.
Yeah, great.
So there is a tendency for people to say, I don't have time to do all of this nice to do stuff because I've got to focus everything on the must do stuff.
For sure. Yes.
And the question is, are developing your skills and your people skills, is that a nice to do or is that a must do?
It's a must do.
And so one of the exercises I'll do is on communication with people and develop their skill to listen to understand and give guidance that creates understanding rather than confusion. And people say, well, I don't know if I want to go through those extra steps because that's going to take time.
Right.
And a Harris poll recently, I think it's 2023, said that the average company in the United States loses 8 hours per week per employee due to miscommunication alone.
Wow. A quarter or a fifth or 20%. I can't do my math.
20% of your productivity.
Of your productivity.
Yeah.
Might as well give
if you've got a $10 million payroll, $2 million of that is just going right down the drain.
With miscommunication.
So you can take 30 additional seconds to listen to understand, or you can take several hours in rework and misunderstandings and cleanup. So what would you prefer?
Right.
And what leaders find is the more that they do these things well, these leadership skills well, they've got less on the plate because there's fewer unforced errors, fewer people like coming to them saying, hey, boss, solve this problem. Hey, boss, what do I do now? So this is it's a both and situation where, yes, you've got to be productive in your job and you've got to accomplish your missions, and doing that well and sustainably requires us to develop the capacity of ourselves and our own people.
And I can imagine also on the back end of those two different scenarios, the one in which the people are more empowered and the communications have been deliberately clear and debriefed or back briefed to make sure any miscommunications have been clarified before something happens. There's a much higher level of trust in the team and the leader organically for the future.
100%. You do a confirmation brief and you know everybody's on the same page, and then they come and they give you their game plan. You know everybody's on the same page. I mean, and you agree on a period of check-ins. You don't have to like, are you done yet? Are you done yet? Are you done yet? Or feel like you're the helicopter leader
Right.
hovering over people to see if they've done their job.
Yeah.
Because if you're so busy focused down on making sure everybody's doing their jobs,
Right.
who's doing your job?
Right. Right. Absolutely. You know what
Who's
I,
focused on
sorry, go ahead.
strategy and growth in the future?
Yeah.
If you're not, who is?
Mm-hmm.
Nobody.
No
And
one
this
is.
is exactly why so many companies that are compliance focused, very down and in,
Yep.
very detailed control, wind up in very difficult circumstances.
And it also wears the individual leaders out. It wears the people out when you've got a leader who's constantly hovering and adjusting and like trying to orchestrate, but also wears those leaders out. I like the what all you've got on your plate, and it's just making me think when I talk with groups, often in a workshop type setting. I'll sometimes use an icebreaker kickoff, like what's all on your plate? Just get it out there to normalize the numbers of stresses and life things and work things and all the things that are happening that are occupying people. What I generally get when I share it with a big room are the big things, like the things you would expect. Oh, my mom is sick. My got to do this. I got to do that. I've got all this like big time period at work. I don't think what most people recognize is what else they've put on their plate that isn't beneficial for them or anyone else to be carrying, that keeps them from leading. And I think that's what you call the dependency trap.
Yeah, certainly part of it. And Duke has joined
Hi,
us.
Duke.
Yeah.
It's good to see you. All good with that. All good
Um,
with Duke.
so there are a couple of things to drill down on there, which is, I mean, I love how you teed that up. So one of the things is you're familiar with General Eisenhower.
Mhm.
And, Eisenhower, former Supreme Allied Commander in Europe during World War II, 34th President of the United States. He was known for managing his time and all the demands on his plate very effectively
Mhm.
and still getting plenty of sleep.
Right. Yeah.
Eisenhower used a very simple thing called the Eisenhower matrix, 2x2, double axis chart. So this is the Eisenhower matrix. And I'll be happy to share any of these graphics
Oh,
with
perfect.
the
Yeah, we can
audience.
put them, attach them to the show notes in this one. Thank you.
Yeah. And so he would organize things. Every task that came in, he would triage as, you know, either important. Important was, hey, this is something that I must do.
Mhm.
I must have my hands on.
Important
Or
for the
not
leader, for
important.
him, for Eisenhower. Mhm.
Yeah, yes. So not important. Maybe it didn't rise to his level. It could be adequately done by somebody else.
Okay.
And then you have urgent.
Mhm.
There we go. Urgent and not urgent.
Okay.
And so he said, if it's not important but urgent, this is something that you should delegate,
Okay.
delay, or delete. If it's not urgent and not important, well, that's a pretty strong delete.
Mhm.
Like, get it off your plate.
Right.
If it's important and urgent, so if the house is on fire, you must put it out.
Mhm.
Right? That's a do it.
Mhm.
You've got to do it. And then if it's important but not urgent,
Mhm.
he said you have to schedule it and you have to defend it.
And defend why it still deserves to stay, to occupy
Yes,
some mental and capacity and time.
100%.
Okay. Yeah.
So all those things like strategy and culture and
Yep.
developing leaders, nobody's breathing down your neck to do them.
Right.
And so they're the first things that can get kicked to the curb
Sure.
and
Get it
over the
defended.
tyranny of the urgent.
Yeah.
And he said, this is your most important. This quadrant here, the defend quadrant, your most important. You've got to make sure that those things happen. Otherwise that they won't. When I work with leaders, I'll often do this matrix with them
Mhm.
and give them homework that says, okay, look at everything on your plate and tell me what quadrant they belong in, you know, where they go.
Yeah.
Invariably, 40 to 60% of leaders' time, this has been very consistent over the years, 40 to 60% of their time is below the equator,
Sure. I can see that.
is spent there. And so if you just take that off the plate by delegating, by delaying, or just getting rid of it.
Yep.
I mean, imagine how much time in let's say a 40-hour week, that means 25 hours or so are consumed in stuff that you don't need to do, 20 to 25 hours.
And then
So
another 8
what do you
are
do with that?
miscommunication. So now
Oh my
you've got
goodness,
what,
it
8
has
hours
this
left of
compounding
productive
effect.
work. Mm-hmm.
And it's no wonder why Gallup says that only 30% of Americans are engaged at work.
There's
Yeah.
there's something called, this makes me think of this, I think it's the Zeigarnik effect, about a researcher that found, I don't remember the specific percent, but our brains hold on to undone tasks. And so it might not even be something you're committing time to, but the fact that you're still giving it like brain real estate to occupy, that you need to do it. This Eisenhower's matrix here is very helpful in understanding how important it is to get rid of those tasks. And what they advise, what they recommend is like a physical mark through something. Like you said, you'll have your leaders write it down. Well, mark through those delete tasks. Like take a pen to paper, get rid of it. Those ones that you delegate, actively do it to free up your mind as well.
Yeah, you're so right, and it reminds me of communication errors that we can make. It's the same principle where a lot of people spend time listening to respond.
Right. Yeah.
It means we're hearing somebody, and then something triggers, and we start formulating our response while they're talking to us, and which means the internal process is always going to override the external one, and we're essentially stopped listening.
We stopped listening because we're just thinking about how to respond. Yes, exactly. So so valuable. Thank you. So that's a bit about the dependency trap. I believe it's super closely related to maybe for me. I'll just say for me. What did they say? N of one. For me, it was very closely related to my idea of servant leadership, and just my background on that is learned. I think a lot of others-oriented people are drawn into service of some sort to begin with. So I think there's probably a tendency there, but then we go, at least I, go into West Point, go in the Army, and the model of leadership I learned was servant leadership. And it works great when I remember I had gone out to the back 40 during training when I was a assistant 1, so a new first lieutenant, and just or assistant 3 rather, and the major was out there like helping to put up the tents. And I'm like, oh, that is awesome. The S3 is out here. So that's the operations training lead for a battalion size or brigade. But in this case, a battalion, that you're like, oh, look at that. Just right out there with all the troops helping everyone out. Like that example is awesome and great. And there's so much humility built into that you just, it's part of that military ethos. I never learned though, like at some point, that shouldn't be all you do, right? Like you need to start to let go a little bit. It took me a long time. I'm talking probably 15 years to figure out oh, wait, everyone doesn't want or need to be led that way. And there's a lot of negative impacts I experienced. I exhausted myself trying to continue to serve, probably to please and appease everyone and doing all that. I know that's, like in my career that happened. And I don't think that's uncommon.
No, similar experience. I'm a recovering servant leader and had always been taught that, well, that's the gold standard. It means you're humble and you care about people and you're willing to lead selflessly.
Yes.
Okay.
Great. I'm in. Absolutely.
Yeah. And so that sounds good to me. And the challenge is that you can take this in one of a couple of this idea of service to serve in one of two directions. One direction is become subservient. So when you're subservient, then you're the one who's solving every problem. You're the one who is sacrificing family so you can do that PowerPoint slide. You're the one that allows your direct reports to delegate work to you, to have no boundaries, to be available 24/7. And I mean, I have through this idea of servant leadership, stayed up an entire 96-hour exercise, and then just fell flat on my face, completely exhausted. I servant leadered my way into coming home all the time, being totally exhausted and damaging relationships with family,
Right.
friends.
Mm-hmm.
And so I recognized, go back to the whiteboard, to serve is noble.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we want. We want leaders to serve. There are two ways to do that. Number one is to become subservient, and this is where servant leadership tends to go.
Mm-hmm.
It's the logical outcome, because once you define yourself as a servant,
right,
you are by definition subservient to everybody else's wishes. You become a people pleaser on steroids. The other meaning to serve, is to be of service. Now, this is very different. I can lead in a way that is of service to my company, of service to my people. And part of being of service to them is developing them, is sometimes letting them wrestle with problems, sometimes letting them face plant. And picking them up and saying, hey, that's all right. Let's figure out what we learned from this. Right. And part of or being of service is I've got to be able to stay in a fight. Right. You know, I can't exhaust myself. I can't face plant. Right. Because I'm totally wiped out. I have to obey the oxygen mask principle.
Yes, you do.
Apply your mask first. Before you. So it's not apply your mask first so that you can steal everybody else's oxygen.
No, it's got to stay alive to help the others out. Mm-hmm.
Yes, so that you can be of service to everybody else. So that I would call it, if I were, and even in my book, Leadership, the Warrior's Art, I haven't changed this yet. And I need to. I need to put out a new edition or see if they could just change it. I even have a double axis chart that has servant leadership on it.
Oh, so
and it's like, actually, I need to change that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I need to change that to, I call it service centric. When you're service centric, you are somebody who is being of service to your people, to the common good, to your family, to others, not being subservient, or let me spell that correctly, subservient to the whims of everybody around you.
Thank you. I also love that you just modeled growth, right? You modeled, hey, I've been learning, I've been changing, and I want to go back and correct something. Like that, this is super powerful. Just to recognize we're all learning and growing, and that's why we do these things.
Mistakes are data points, you know?
Yeah. Well, it's not even necessarily, it's not even a mistake. I would say it's like that was what that's what you learned, that's what you practiced, that's what you believed at the time, and you've evolved, you've grown, and now you have a different framework. So that's growth. So that's awesome. Another thing that I do share with folks is not everyone views servant leadership, especially the way I was doing it, as has the positive, the service-centric type thing. And I didn't even figure this out until I was in grad school. I was studying leadership, and it was in one of our texts. And it was just this tiny little thing on this chapter, I think in like the anthology on different leadership theories about servant leadership. This tiny little text said that some view it as micromanagement. And like, those are dirty words, right? And that's when it finally hit me. I'm like, oh my gosh, I was trying to help. However, not everyone wants that level of engagement. And that was, I don't believe in like full pivots or big turning points necessarily. That was a big, huge aha moment for me for a lot of things. I began to recognize how important it is to lead people as the individual needs to be led, and to be of service to them where they are, and their skills and their experience and their background. And one thing might apply to a new person who's just learning the job, who really does need that good positive role model who shows them how it's done, is there with them to help out.
Mhm.
Someone else has been doing it for a very long time. That's not what they need, right? They need other things from you. They might need resources. They might need you to be on the balcony view. They might need you to just kind of deconflict or be a sounding board, whatever, something entirely different. So that one line in this text during a class, a grad school class, was a big shifting point for me on this very thing. So I too am in the Recovering Servant Leadership
Yeah.
Club.
Oh, I love it. Yeah. And yeah, the one path, the subservience path leads to ultimately to dependency and
Yep,
micromanagement and all of
yep,
this stuff and learned helplessness on the
yep,
part of your employees.
yeah,
Whereas the other path, being of service, part of that being of service is I'm gonna I'm gonna support your growth. I'm gonna meet you where you are, and I'm
mhm,
gonna support you in growing to the kind of employee that contributes their best, yeah, and your full potential. And you may not even realize all of that potential that you've got. Sometimes it takes somebody outside of you, and so
yeah,
I'm going to work with you to grow to be your best possible self.
yeah.
Can't do that in servant leadership when you're subservient.
Well, you can't do that in subservient leadership, certainly. So, thank you. Um, Next thing I want to talk with you is about staying aligned to your values, what matters most to you.
Mm,
And I would love to have you talk about how you think and vision and think forward. This is the Future Walk podcast. I mean,
mhm,
the purpose of the podcast is twofold. One is to introduce a tool of walking while thinking forward to leaders to use for in different ways. The other is to talk with leaders like you, accomplished people who have found their own ways to stay aligned or figure out what matters most to them, to stay aligned with that or to get back on track. Because, I mean, inevitably or invariably, life pulls us off track at times, or it really pulls hard to do that. So, I would love to hear from you how you've identified what matters most, what those values that we talked about earlier a little bit as a big word, but what that means in
mhm.
practice in your own life, and how you stay aligned to that, and how you stay well so you can continue to do what you do.
Yeah, that's a really important question that can go in a lot of
Yeah,
directions. A lot of elements to
yeah, it's
that.
like six, I think. No,
Which,
just
yeah,
kidding.
very rich.
Feel free
Oh,
to
it's right.
answer whichever one.
Um, I used to think future self,
Mhm.
and again, this was just up till a couple of months ago. Future self was about my what. And
Mm,
so like growing up in the military or starting my own consulting business, I could imagine, I could visualize like what's next. I could
mhm,
visualize what I wanted to be in the future. And this was just several months ago. I'm trying to do a future self visualization, and I'm just getting it blank.
mhm,
Nothing's coming.
mhm.
And I thought, oh, is this a signal that I'm gonna die soon, that I have no future?
Oh,
It really
scary.
freaked me out.
Yeah.
And I was in a retreat with one of my mentor groups, and we were going through one of our exercises, and it just struck me that I have been trying to visualize the wrong thing.
Ah,
Your future self is not about your what necessarily. It's more about your who.
your who.
Who do I get to become in my future self? Who do I want to become? Um, and that just opened up a whole new world for me. And it's like, okay, who do balloons? Who do I want to become? I have these Zoom superpowers.
We're
I get the heart,
celebrating
I
this.
get the balloons. Yeah,
We're
the hearts.
celebrating.
Um, I that opened up a whole new world. It's like, well, especially in this time, I'm time a huge transition. My wife Nicole just became a foreign service officer. She's
Yeah.
an American diplomat, and
Congratulations.
we just moved to Mexico and in Ciudad Juarez, Mexico.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, well, this, I mean, it's going to have a effect on my business, a huge time of transition. Who do I want to be during this? And that's what I envisioned. And so now when I do the future self meditation, it's like, all right, who do I want to be? What are those, what are those values? What do I want to exemplify? And then, all right, what are the actions that exemplify those? And what are the actions that don't exemplify those that are not acceptable? All those are important.
Yeah, so values based. It's like a values exercise in the values that you don't want to do. It's like a reverse bucket list in the sense of like, okay, I need to remove or the delete. Right, we went through that in the original quadrants. Eisenhower's like, delete the things that, like, get rid of those things that are not important for you. So, what do you want to exemplify as values? Are there any insights you've had that you want to share or are willing to share with us?
Yeah, one was that just being, as I mentioned, bullied and molested as a kid, and then you go through the military, and often it's like emotions are bad. Emotions make you make bad decisions and stuff like that, and so you're almost conditioned over time to like be very guarded about your emotions.
Yeah, like putting on armor, right?
Yeah, and not let them run through you, not feel them, bottle them up.
Right.
And then you go through combat, and you have joy, you have grief, you have all of these different things. And again, I was at one of these events, one of these retreats, and we're doing breath work. I'd never been exposed to breath work. No idea what that was. Like, okay, we're gonna breathe. Okay. Yeah. I had no idea what this was. It was awesome.
Yeah.
And what it did was it showed me that essentially I had imprisoned my spirit, my emotional spirit, my dragon, I call it, inside this fortress, feet upon feet thick, no sunlight getting out, nothing, just, pretend guarded, with all sorts of these, sentinels and stuff. And it was like, I'm not allowing myself to fly. I'm not allowing myself to be who I want to be. I have to crack open those walls. Yeah. I got to bring down those walls, tell those sentinels, hey, you've done your job. I appreciate you. It's time to stand down and, let that spirit, that burning heart that I call it, that dragon, let them fly. And it's been transformational for me.
That's amazing. And you use the word transformational in a way I can get behind. You hear that word a lot. Transformational. This is like, that does absolutely sound transformational because I've known you for a few years now. And how long ago was this, your dragon, you recognize this?
Yeah, this was like a year and a half.
So this is what's amazing about this for me is, and this is the first time we've talked about this, on the outside, you're just, you're like, I mean, your energy is the same. Your delivery, but you were hiding all that on the inside. Like my point, I guess, is like you had a really good facade. You had a really well honed exterior that probably others did not know you were dealing with this or had pushed these things down so much on the inside. And it took something completely out of the ordinary to, I guess, lead to this really extraordinary thing where now you recognize like you've got your dragon. I love this. This is this imprisoned spirit. This dragon is out, this burning heart. That is awesome. What is it? Yeah. What is it leading you towards?
I don't know if I call it a facade because it's genuine.
Genuine, yes.
It's just not complete.
Okay, thank you.
It wasn't complete. And it wasn't serving me well, or the people around me and loved ones. It wasn't serving them as well as I could.
There we go.
Because that dimension of me was too contained.
Okay.
And so bringing that dimension, I'm able to, it's like on a keyboard, you're able to play so many more keys
Oh
now
man.
because of, because
Yeah.
there's a new dimension of me that, that is serving.
I love this. This is so great. And thank you for that important clarification. So the incomplete and now you've got you've got your full array of keys and all the octaves on the piano. You've got a bigger rainbow of colors. You've got just so much more that you recognize because you're willing to do this work. I'll just share, like I'm doing therapy right now for the
Mm.
first real time. I will just say that. And I cannot believe the insights I'm having and the things that I just subtly let go of or change a little bit. It's similar, like this deep self work, how valuable it is. Like it is transformative, truly, in like the most authentic, intended way of that word.
Yeah, and nobody teaches you how to do this.
No, no,
We don't teach it in middle school or high school
no.
or college.
Yeah,
None of that. And so we just all go doing our best
right.
and think that, well, all the bad things that happened to me in the past are uncomfortable things I bottle up,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and then hope they don't, explode out at some point, or get triggered at some point and explode out.
Yeah.
But you can work through those things, so they're not triggering. You can. I mean, Viktor Frankl said it best: between stimulus and response is where we have sovereignty.
Yeah.
And so that sovereignty, our ability to respond
Mm-hmm.
to whatever happens to us, is vital. And all of these things, that uncomfortable things or challenging things that happen. Nobody teaches you how to deal with being molested as a kid or bullied.
Right.
Um, I can work through that. I've worked through that now, and I can talk about it.
Thank you.
With people, and loved ones who die in combat. Nobody teaches you how to deal with that. And so by having that, building that capacity,
Mm-hmm.
and oftentimes it can be through therapy or other advisors that help us like understand the spiritual and emotional sides of
Mm-hmm.
us. We're
Yeah.
great at the physical and the mental stuff.
Yep.
It's the spiritual and emotional stuff that
Mm-hmm.
we're not always so good at, and nobody teaches you how to do. There's no school, there's no class in high
Mm-hmm.
school on emotional intelligence. There's no class in high
Mm-hmm.
school
Right.
about how to deal with difficult situations. And so the I have grown so much by working with people who help me with greater spiritual and emotional capacity.
Thank you so much for sharing all that. That is just needs to be heard by everyone and the courage to do that work. And then I don't know if it's courageous, if it feels courageous for you to share, it feels courageous for me to hear, but maybe it feels freeing for you. How does it feel to share that with others? Does it
It yeah, it just feels important.
important?
It's part of who I am. And so if like if I can do it, so can everybody else.
That's how I feel
You know?
too about me. Like I kept my crap buried down for a lot of decades, right? And so, yeah, working
Yeah.
through all that. And then other things come up, right? And it all piles in and kind of gets all
Mhm.
intertwined. Um, thank you. I have so many more things, but I think I want to finish with, the Saber Six. What Saber Six is. I think this is a really, really important message about you as a person, you as service centric, and what what it is and how you help others through it.
Um, Thank you, Sarah. I appreciate you asking. So Saber Six is a nonprofit foundation I founded in 2022, dedicated to working with veterans who want to turn post-combat stress into growth. Since 9/11, over 150,000 veterans have died by suicide. You could take any of these World Cup stadiums and fill them twice with those numbers
Mm-hmm.
and still have people waiting outside to get in. within my unit, as you mentioned, we had 6 killed in action. 15 at the end of 15 years later, we had lost more to suicides and overdoses and recklessness and other deaths of despair than we did to enemy fire. And I was just like, I can't just know this going on and not do something about it. One of my just best paratroopers from Afghanistan. I mean, this kid was he was every commander's dream. Great soldier, lots of initiative, natural leader. His father was a retired Medal of Honor recipient from Vietnam. And we were able to bring him out to Afghanistan, reunite him with his son. And afterwards, as Robert says, boss, I really love this. I appreciate this. I love the Army. I want to make this a career. Wow. Second deployment, he gets a back injury and discharged from the Army. And Robert, I'm going to go back to so Robert, like many others, he transitions, and he had a good job. He had a young family, and things were going okay. And then he also had he had this need for adrenaline rushes. They didn't understand. And so he would do extreme forward wheeling. Accident paralyzes him. He loses his job. He loses his family, and he drank it to death. And that pushed me over the edge. I was contemplating doing a bicycle ride to visit the graves of the 6 troopers from our unit who were killed in action. And that was like, I am doing this. And so, there are some veterans at the transition point who go right on the deep red line into crisis. They're actually fairly easy to identify, and because they're easy to identify, you can treat them, pretty quickly. Most veterans, like Robert, come out on the yellow line. The yellow line is the okay line. Things are okay. Got a job, got a family, got a roof over my head. Things are going okay. Well, why is okay?
Right, it's okay.
I mean, when it comes to your personal and professional life, okay, that kind of stinks. And the risk with okay is that an unfortunate event or series of unfortunate events can put you down onto the red line. So I call this the lighter red line of drift. And drift can only lead in one direction, and that's downhill into despair. Every soldier I know, every one of our veterans that I know who died by suicide or overdose or other deaths of despair didn't start out in crisis. They started out on the yellow line and fell off. So there are a lot of veteran nonprofits that work in this space, and they do great life-saving work. I love the fact that they are there. So in starting the foundation, we asked, what difference can we make? Well, what if we could backstop the yellow line? Backstop the yellow line so people didn't fall off the yellow line and gave them a straightforward path to the green line, which is growth, leading to whatever version of success that veteran and their family envision. So you create that straightforward path through purpose, belonging, and well-being. When you got those 3 things, when you got a clear sense of purpose, you feel like your life is worth living, your impact is worth making. When you've got belonging, you feel like you're making this journey with other people who matter. And when you've got well-being, spiritual, emotional, physical, etc., you can go the distance. So that's what the Saber Six Foundation is all about. We essentially reunite veterans who serve together. We give them the tools, adventures, experiences to strengthen purpose, belonging, well-being, and we sustain that over time. So an event, a reunion is not a one-off, and every veteran from that organization knows that they always have a home. Since we started, for people actively involved in our programs, no suicides, no overdoses, no attempts.
Wow. Phenomenal.
Pretty powerful.
Super powerful. Thank you so much. How can people learn more about it or support it or your other work?
So the best ways, just go to my website, chriskolenda.com, or contact me by email, chris@chriskolenda.com.
Perfect.
Really super simple. Please put it in the show notes. I will send you these visual models, and if you've got another one like, hey, do you have a visual model for how I gain buy-in? I'd be happy to send it.
Great. Thank you so much for all of that.
Yeah, 100%. And for the Saber Six Foundation, if you go to sabersixfoundation.com, that's our website, or email me and just say, hey, Chris, I'd like to learn more about Saber Six.
Perfect. Thank you. And I think ending with growth as the direction is a beautiful way to wrap this up, because we're all on that growing journey. I know from when I was in the FBI and teaching the National Academy, I would get law enforcement leaders, similar suicide tragedies. And so one thing that we would talk about is the importance of growth, right? Like, because if you only know, most people have heard of PTS or PTSD and all that, like the downward, but to know the potential exists for the upward, right? As well, just to even be armed with growth is as much of a possibility, if not more. And it takes these deliberate actions with purpose, with beliefs, with well-being. And there's a way forward. Saber Six Foundation, for people, I think that's just a wonderful place to summarize all of that. So thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, you can have your trauma and experiences and all of those things, and you can live your best possible life.
Yeah.
You can have growth. You can hold both things at the same time and honor both of them.
And again, another really great parallel to what we started talking about on the leadership side, the and. It just doesn't have to be about the and piece, leading towards growth and fulfilling your who, right? And where you're at right now, it sounds like you are just working. You've released your dragon, and you've got this. You're going that direction, and I'm just so grateful.
Soaring to new heights.
I love this. Soaring to new heights. I love that you took this time to share so openly with us. I'm so grateful for that. So, and thank you again for being such an important mentor for me as well. I know
it's an absolute joy, Sarah. I appreciate you so much, and thank you for having me on this. Thank you for the service that you continue to provide for people to help them achieve their dreams.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Just appreciate all this. And again, for everyone, chriskolenda.com or Saber Six Foundation. And we'll put some of that information, as well as some of his visualizations. Is that what you call them? Your visual models in the show notes as well for you. And for listeners, if you are finding value in this podcast, still pretty new, right? So please follow. So a couple things. It helps you not miss any future episodes, of course. And it helps others. There's some magic out there and some algorithm somewhere that helps others find this, other leaders that can benefit from this, because extraordinary leaders like Chris share their decades of wisdom and lived experience with you to help you live your best life and lead your best as well. So please do follow, share, like, comment, do anything with it to help other people find this as well. And this week, as you spend your time this week, you can think about some questions that he brought up, like, where am I creating dependency instead of building people? Maybe there's one thing that you can think about doing to help perhaps liberate your team from some of that and help empower them to move forward. So if you're wrestling with some of these things, just plant that seed. Write a question for yourself about, what is one thing I can do to release or start to remove some of the dependency I've created as a leader. And then go out on a future walk and see what becomes clear to you. So again, thanks for joining us on the Future Walk podcast. And until next time, enjoy your walk.